Good morning, YouTube. Hope everybody is doing well today. I want to talk a little bit about how easy Christianity can be. A lot of non-believers think Christianity is really hard and there's a lot to it. It's really not, though. What most people don't understand is Christianity itself is very easy, and I'm going to tell you how. Okay, Jesus himself was teaching to a crowd of people when he was asked a tricky question, but he gave the best answer to this tricky question. Okay, Matthew 22:34 through 36. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? So let's start by addressing the first part of this verse. Jesus was widely known by most people of the day because of the miracles the crowds he preached to, word spreading. But he wasn't particularly liked, especially by Pharisees and Sadducees were the two main groups. The problem with these groups is they were religious leaders of the day. They studied the Old Testament, and they had their own beliefs, their own thoughts of what they thought was supposed to happen, or they thought they knew all the answers. And because of their own views, they couldn't see Jesus standing right in front of them. So you will see this throughout the Bible. For instance, Jesus told everyone he would tear the temple down and rebuild it in 3 days. And everyone was waiting for him to physically tear this temple down and rebuild it and take his place as king. But he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about when he would be crucified on the cross, dead and buried and raised again in 3 days. But they didn't understand it until after it had happened. Never think we have the answers. This is basically what we can learn from all of this. No matter how much you study, open your heart and mind and let God show you the answers. For instance, creation. So many churches have argued and split over debating creation. Was it done in 7 physical days? A day is a rotation of the earth on the third rock from the sun. If the earth wasn't there, how is a day measured? What if I told you creation was quickly explained to a man barely out of the Stone Age in just over a chapter, so God can continue with the rest of the story that matters most? He couldn't have got into physics and details of how he actually did it. And there's a lot of really interesting theories out there, but they're just that. He didn't explain it to us because it doesn't matter. God created the earth. Now let me tell you what matters. Challenge what you hear. If something is obviously false, study it. If it contradicts the words in the Bible, rebuke it. Turn away from it. If there's a theory of creation and how it happened and where the flood was, and there's so many different theories and stuff out there, and some of them are really good, just accept it and say, okay, maybe. Look at the book of Revelation. I personally believe that there's a lot in Revelation that doesn't make sense to us, but it's going to make sense in the end time because a lot of it's confusing. The day you look at the way Revelation is told and some of the stories and images that we're seeing, I don't think were meant for us to clearly understand now. So don't read something and think that you have all the answers if it's not clear. Maybe it's not meant for you at the time in your life and where we're at right now. Anyway, so let's go back to Jesus' question. So these religious leaders were constantly testing Jesus, trying to bait him with these trick questions. The Pharisees who asked this question were very much legalists. So they asked which commandment was the greatest, hoping that he would pick one of the many commandments, and then they would argue that he was downplaying the rest of the other 613 commandments that were out there. So they could have attacked him for it. Okay, but Jesus gave the perfect answer. In verse 37, Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments." See, Jesus knew exactly how to answer this question. If we truly love God with all our hearts and all our mind, He becomes our top priority. His will in our life takes priority over our sinful desires. Pleasing Him, being who He wants us to be, letting His light shine through us. And then the second part, the second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. What if we did this? We wouldn't steal from our neighbor. We wouldn't murder our neighbor. We wouldn't hurt our neighbor. We wouldn't gossip about our neighbor. We wouldn't lie to our neighbor. We wouldn't steal from our neighbor. We wouldn't want to wrong our neighbor in any way. We would put their needs first. If someone else needs something and you can meet that need, give them what you've got. That would meet that need. That is putting other people first. Okay. Verse 40, it says, all the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. These commandments sum up the Christian faith. It's so easy. It begins with saying our ABCs. You have to admit that you are a sinner, unable to save yourself. Believe that Jesus is God's Son, who came to earth and died on the cross for you, rose again on the third day. And C is confess with your mouth that He is Lord. Second is just to simply love. Love God first and everyone else second. Put God's needs first in your life. And then how great would it be if everyone put others first? If everyone's top priority was putting God first and putting everyone else's needs in front of their own, the world would be a totally different place as we knew it if we weren't so selfish, if we simply loved everyone. That was God's plan. That is Christianity summed up. The problem is our sinful nature corrupted this from the very beginning. So let me challenge you guys this week. Go out, love God, put His will first in your life, and second, put everyone else. Love everybody you encounter. Find a way to show God's love to someone throughout your life this week. If you have questions about these things, questions about these ABCs, please send me a message. I would love to message with you, to talk with you, whatever you need. If you've enjoyed these lessons, please like, subscribe, and share this message with others, because someone else in your time feed might need to hear this as well. Let's grow this week to be God's warriors.